exactly has happened. So will we just start with Dirty Kerry, or should we do the papers first?
It doesn't really matter because it's going to be on some of the
well, let's just start with Dirty Kerry. Why are Kerry such a shared dirty bastards, Owen?
Well, you said that it's like an attack on County Kerry there from Lee Keegan. It's not. It's an attack on Ronan Shanahan.
No, it's the whole county. He has you all in your sights.
Okay, fine. He has us all in his sights. Yeah. Good on you, Lee. You've riled us all up this morning. I'd like to know that he definitely did mean to say very dirty challenge in reference to Ronan Shanahan's hit on Evan Regan on Saturday night in Castlebar.
So let's just lay the table here. Evan Regan has a fracture in his face.
Yes,
and possibly concussion as well.
I would say he almost got brought off for concussion. I'd say it's both. It was a bad hit. The thing is,
he's in a bad way and probably needs surgery, according to Lee Keegan. Now didn't confirm that in the statements they issued afterwards, but they did say that he'd been pretty badly injured.
Does that make it a deliberate hit? Does that make it something that was definitely done and, by extension, a very dirty hit? I agree. Of course, you look at the injuries. It was a very, very bad tackle. He probably could have been punished more severely. He got a yellow card. He did eventually go off, but it was for a different challenge. That was the first of his 2 yellow cards, was the hit on Evan Regan on Saturday night. Keegan's comments suggest that Shanahan went out of his way to make sure that he was going to injure Evan Regan, and I'm not so sure that was the case. I saw it once. I saw it live when it happened at the time. There was obviously a very negative appraisal of the challenge from everybody in Mayo, as you would. If the tables were turned, I would have reacted.
Were you howling bloodthirsty? Yeah, go on!
Well,
Kerry. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, of course. No, I was not. Just to clarify, I'm not that bloodthirsty.
Well, you were involved in that spat with the Mayo fans around you at the time.
Yeah, kind of. But that wasn't in any bloodthirsty way. It was more kind of a friendly sort of
fisticuffs.
Yeah, fisticuffs, yeah, but proper hooliganism in the stands. So I'm not sure how you can make that leap and say Ronan Shanahan picked out Evan Regan and was like, I'm going to get you.
But that's not, sorry, no, that suggests malice aforethought. There is a possibility for...
he said it was a very dirty challenge.
But so, it's possible that a dirty challenge is not something that you have premeditated. It doesn't have to be Roy Keane and Alfinga Halland. There are tackles where you go too high, the arm slips up or whatever.
For me,
the shoulder slips up and it's like, you don't pull out.
For me, dirty suggests that it is a mental thing as well, that this isn't an accident.
Well, that you didn't stop it. It doesn't mean you do it malice aforethought. It means that you didn't stop in the...
Well, how are you supposed to stop a high-speed collision of bodies?
Duty of care. Do you have a duty of care? Do you see that duty of care through, and do you accept that that you have the potential to seriously damage the person you're against? In a contact sport, it's fairly obvious.
So if you see...
In the middle of a tip tackle, like at a high pace, how do people suddenly stop?
What about a high tackle in rugby that is high, despite the fact that the player is going low, the person who is being tackled? That duty of care is always used in that regard as well.
So the outcome is important.
But yes, it is. But would you refer to that as a very dirty tackle? I've never really... obviously you've got deliberate high tackles in rugby that are referred to as very dirty correctly. But there are certain high tackles that aren't deliberate.
Keith Earl's high tackle, penalty only, no yellow card during the week on Saturday.
Yeah.
It's like, it looks like he's trying to wrap the player up to get the ball to start a choke tackle. The arm comes up. It's not a very, very dirty tackle. You have seen those very, very dirty tackles where the clothesline goes up. There's no effort to wrap the ball. There's no wrapping motion, and you clothesline somebody. So that's the difference.
Yes,
but neither of them is necessarily like, I'm going to get that guy over there with the high tackle. It's that the arm comes up.
Precisely, but that when you say duty of care, you would suggest that Ronan Shanahan went out of his way to not make a fair shoulder.
I'm not. I'm wondering if, maybe he intended to leave a bit on it in the parlance. Can I have the Examiner there? Because there's an interesting column from John Fogarty today talking about this very, very issue about cynicism. And
it's completely unrelated. It just happens to be in the paper on the same day. I don't think he even mentions the Keegan comments, does he?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. But he talks about Mikey Sheehy.
Yeah, I thought it was basically the Sheehy comments that got lost as a result of his comments on Kerry fans. Does he talk about Mayo, or is it Dublin he refers to, and just this hard edge that they have? And of course, this whole notion that Kerry are whiter than white is complete nonsense. I mean, you can't survive in Gaelic football this decade unless you have a serious edge to you. Dublin have it, Mayo have it. We saw, I think he was referring to Sheehy. I think Sheehy was talking about after the Dean Rock Free last year, was it?
He was, yeah. So I could understand Lee Keegan's frustration throwing the GPS unit at Dean Rock. He knew it, they knew it, that the game was up unless they won the next kick out, and then the Dubs made sure they weren't going to win the next kick out. Fair play to Dublin for what they did. They manhandled their players, kicked away the thing. I would have no issue with players doing that once you win the game. So that's the win at all cost mentality writ large from Mikey Sheehy, the selector of the Kerry football team at the minute. And I would suspect that football fans, supporters, as opposed to those people who care about the, you know, the influence that win at all costs has on real life, are like, yeah, that's exactly what we want from our team.
That was a very interesting layer to the Dublin thing last year when everybody was giving out about what happened. Of course, no neutral wants to see it, but if it was your own team, would you be cheering it on? Of course you would. This wasn't a thing that was specific to Dublin. If Mayo were in that position, they mightn't have been smart enough to do it as systematically as Dublin did it. But would they have any problem morally to do it? I'd suspect not. Would Kerry have any problem on a moral level doing it? Of course they wouldn't.
Does that grim you out?
It does a little bit. If you're not grimmed out a small bit by that, then I don't think you're very human, are you? Of course, and as you say, there was a worrying element as to this being a potential first step on things getting worse. With a game getting faster, with one referee, do we need to instigate a double referee refereeing two sides of the pitch that we can stamp these things out? Do we need to make sure that if you see a challenge like Ronan Shanahan's on Saturday night, does that mean an automatic red card? Because I assume the referees is thinking the same way as I am, that, right, he went in for the shoulder, he badly mistimed it, the player went down low, so therefore he's connected right with his head. And as you say, the outcome is grim.
Yeah.
And that should be a red card. Maybe we should be looking in that way, whereas the intent wasn't. That's the only thing.
So we don't know about intent.
Well, exactly. But whenever I hear dirty, I hear malice. That's what I hear. Like, each to their own. But certainly when I hear that was a very dirty challenge, I hear the guy meant to do it.
Well, so look, we can argue that back and forth, but I think that outcome is the easiest thing to. Outcome or potential outcome. So if you go swinging with a shoulder and miss someone's, or an elbow and miss someone's head, that you should still get a red card whether or not you connect with the person and knock their head off. So there's two things. And
so he swung with the elbow.
But I'm not saying in the specific instance. I'm saying like generally, you need to legislate for the intent in some cases where it's clear what the intent is. But like there are those sneaky tackles that. The two players involved know exactly that you meant to leave something on me there. You slipped up there on purpose. You followed through in a way that you didn't have to. So I would still legislate for those. But it does seem to me, to kind of just come out from this a second, that players and managers are far more willing to call this stuff now than they would have been. What happens on the pitch stays on the pitch was the mantra up until about 18 months ago, it seemed. But Cian O'Neill coming out and saying that Kevin Feely was targeted and cynically on the ground had his head, I don't know what the specifics of did he say they were pushed, punched, whatever it was, but the implication was that he'd had his head targeted cynically in the league match against Dublin, that Lee Keegan coming out and saying that was dirty. This didn't used to happen. This is a ratcheting up of...
Well, Fitzmaurice did it last year as well.
With the Dubs, and what was the specific thing he said?
It was they've got an edge, they've got a serious edge, and it was did somebody in the Dublin camp make that we are whiter than white comment? That was the thing that was targeted. It was before the league final anyway, but yeah, I agree. I think it's great. It's great for the discourse that this is happening, but also as well, will it ultimately change something? There's certainly a better chance that it will, because people are talking about it. Will there be some sort of shame attached to this now of being cynical? Because there was a sense of pride previously maybe about doing that sort of thing and maybe not anymore.
And in Kerry, what's the response to Lee Keegan's comments, do you think?
But I would say that a lot of people will be thinking about the very dirty line and
saying...
Okay, naturally the response is they're not that sort of player, but I think that's a nonsense thing because we've already discussed it. I accept the whole outcome argument.
Will anybody be happy about the fact that, good man...
Well, okay, so if you read James Horan's column yesterday, he basically makes the point that Mayo got out-cynicked by a bunch of kids, basically, and he was saying that was almost borderline embarrassing for Mayo. So this isn't one-way traffic that because Kerry have come out on top that they're suddenly sitting high and mighty about this, that there was kind of a resigned nature from James Horan yesterday that say next time they come up against each other, Mayo need to be the ones with the harder edges. But no, nobody's going to be sitting there thinking they should have approached the game in any different way, particularly after they go down to 13 men. But this was when they were at 15 men, of course, so which also suggests it is kind of an isolated thing.
All right.